right, I know this is coming out really late, you know, compared to probably how everybody else already got their reviews out and everything. Sorry, boys, it's life's been life in here recently. So we're gonna go over the soul leveling characters. I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I am vastly, and I mean extremely disappointed here. I know this is supposed to be a reaction, which I haven't seen their animations yet, so this is still gonna be a reaction to that. When it comes to like Junu's animations, not Junu's animations, my bad, Junu's kit and everything else, I am extremely underwhelmed. And then if we scroll past all this, I think we'll eventually see his animations. Here they are. Okay, let me go right here. We'll see what we're cooking with here. Also, the audio is not on. Let me restart this. We're gonna talk about all these guys in just a second, but I want to see all their animations first so you guys can get my reaction. Technically, I did see this because this was in their little trailer they leaked or whatever. I think his animations are fine. They look really fast for the most part. Doesn't seem like any of them have like crazy long startups. I like how here, if I'm not mistaken, oh no, it's not Igris. I don't know who that one is. I haven't got that far, I'm be honest. I dropped solo leveling. But here's all of his stuff, and we'll be reviewing that in just a second. I don't even remember what this guy's name is, but he always looked cool to me. Let's see his animations real quick. Oh, a dome? Okay, that's kind of cool. The fireballs. All right. Oh, wait, there's more to it? Or is that the same? Is that a different animation? There might have been more to it or a different animation entirely. I'm not for sure. The New Balances on freaking Yama? Let's see what Homegirl's doing real quick. I will say we don't know her like stats at all when it comes to like, you know, her kit and everything. I think we'll be finding that out in about 2 weeks. But I am excited to see these animations. Maybe it can hint at what she's going to be doing. Okay. That looks kind of like a buff, more so than a damaging attack. That art right there. True art looks really nice. And it's the super art. Probably think she's gonna be a breaker. And then we have, last but not least, Igris, which I don't know what, man. I just feel like his artwork looks a little weird to me. I guess it looks more webtoony than any of the other ones. I'm gonna go over to their unit page already, cause chat, I am, like I said, disappointed beyond belief with how they've been treating these recent crossover characters. And it's not that I'm disappointed because I'm like a soul leveling fan. Like I said, I've dropped this anime and I enjoy it for what it is, and I don't really go any deeper than that. You know, I don't think this anime is like telling the greatest story ever known to mankind. It's decent, it's good enough to, you know, be able to be like, yeah, you know, they kind of got me a little bit. It's kind of cool, but it's not gonna be something where I think about like in 20 years and be like, damn, that soul leveling. What a story. I would be like, damn, that fight scene was kind of cool. But here's Junu. So first and foremost, his slots are incredible. He has a physical, a support, magic, or another support item depending on if you take him to LB7 or not. In terms of his kit here, we have art gauge, we have physical res down stackable, true art's able to give art gauge to dark allies only, and then if they're above 80% HP, you give them even more arts. So this is a bit interesting. By default, it just gives dark allies arts, and then it has the conditional effect. So I think this is going to be like type, is it D? I can't remember which one are the elemental archon types, but it's very likely that's what this is going to be. I doubt he's type E because he has this additional condition, and plus the fact too it says dark allies here. In terms of his super art, you double the damage multiplier of it against enemies under, not above, under 50% HP. Additionally, double super art damage multiplier against enemies under 25% HP. I'm gonna be completely honest with y'all, this super art sucks. One thing that's good about him is that at least he has this. He's able to increase his own attack permanently every time he uses his art, true art, or super art up to a max of 500%. The more attack he has, the more damage. Unfortunately, it is just 1%, but to be honest with the amount of additional attack he's going to be getting, this is actually really good. He also has poison res. If you watch the show, this is kind of a nice little nod to it because, you know, he can't really be intoxicated thanks to one of his passives. And if we see here, his true weapon, the only thing we know for a fact is that it increases his own attack by 50%, and his arts by 1. This is going to be best in slot for him, just for the simple fact that it has that 50% attack boost passively, which gives him tons of additional damage. Now, the reason why Junu is kind of bad is not because of this true art, it's not even because of the art. To be honest, I wouldn't even mind if Junu was kind of more of a dark support character, because if we actually just look at this real quick, with Mana Dark, of course, you have someone like Dragon Authority Luan, you have a character like Shadow here. Shadow and this Junu is going to love each other because Shadow gives all dark allies 5 arts per second just for being on the team, and he also wants to be above 70% HP. And lastly, I would actually cap that team off with none other than, you guessed it, Natasha, wherever she is, this one right here. Oh, that's Huma. And the only reason why we go Natasha compared to some other character is for the simple fact she is one of the only DR characters we have at the moment for Mono Dark. There you go, you have a bunch of DR, you got all your damage and crit rate from Luan, and then you have even more damage and support from Shadow here, and that team is going to be very strong. Now, unfortunately, Shadow is a very exclusive unit, especially if you are just now coming into the game for solo leveling, because he's from Shadow and Eminence, of course. What that all translates to is that he's not going to be a bad character for Mono Dart. He's actually going to be very strong for Mono Dart. However, this right here is a big issue. Whenever you just buff up a multiplier to Kingdom Come and you don't have really any damage buffs behind it, it's kind of whatever. In all honesty though, the super art's going to hit extremely hard, especially if you get an enemy below that 50% HP. And the reason why it's going to hit so hard is because he has this ratio passive built in. If he did not have this ratio passive and he just had like this ramping attack with this, it would be god awful because you wouldn't have any innate damage buffs. Doesn't really sound bad then, right? He's going to be dealing tons of damage. Why is this bad? The reason why this is bad is because of this right here against enemies under 50% HP. 90% of the game, this will never, ever, hope you're listening, ever be the reason why you win the match or not. And the reason for that is because he already has such a high multiplier. He has this and this. If you are nuking with Junu, mainly what the game is, if you're not doing harder content, this additional damage buff he gets won't ever go off unless the boss has threshold mechanics. And at that point, you're probably not nuking them unless you're doing a very specialized nuke. Yeah, they don't have it anymore, I guess. There was a website where you could actually go on there and do the damage calculation, but I guess it's down now. But you'll see that in most cases, this is going to be enough to off an enemy. Not to mention this and this. Like, you're going to have more than enough additional damage to be able to kill an enemy. That's the main thing that I have an issue with, is that this could have been so much better, because it's like, why not go full in? You know what I mean? If you're going to be giving Dark Allies Arcage, right, why not make the super art support Dark Allies more? Or, you know, kind of be like a hybrid where it's really good for Jinu, maybe buffing up like all Dark Allies attack, while on top of the fact that maybe he gets something as well, like ignoring the enemy's defense, or like super crits. You know, something like that. It's kind of crazy to me that Jinu, you know, Mr. Bad, Mr. Aura, doesn't have aura in GS. Another issue I have with this Jinu is that he has a overtime archgen effect instead of a burst archgen effect. I don't necessarily completely hate it because it is still some type of self-sufficient archgen, but he is overall slower due to the fact that he has the overtime archgen on the skill instead of the instant burst. Much rather would have this been just straight 30 arc gauge on a 13-second cooldown. I think that's kind of standard than having, 3 arc gauge over the course of 10 seconds. It's kind of the same story that's been told Easter Tensura and also Madoka Magica. These characters are coming out and they're good until you get to a certain part of their kit and it's like, why does it feel like they're missing something? Why does it feel like that they're not all there? Know what I mean? As for the next character, so with Choi, he has the burst archgen skill. Look at this, 30 arc gauge. They did it with the next character, chat. 30 arc gauge, 14-second cooldown, 13-second cooldown, 3 arts over the course of 10 seconds. Why they do it like that? Who knows? I think this is quite literally one of the greatest like trio things to have, because you're lowering the enemy's attack, lowering their physical damage, and you get an evasion rate down. Like, you're reducing their damage and you're making them easier to hit. So good in harder pieces of content. True Art's able to reduce the enemy's fire res by 50% for what, 90 seconds? Yeah, and it's stackable, not too shabby. And the Super Art is increasing all allies' magic equipped CT speed by 100. Now, this is very good here. This literally halves all magic equipped CT speeds. Madoka's bow is something that gives you 200% damage and all that. Well, if you have 45 seconds, well, I mean, it's not a full number here. You know, if you literally cut this in half, which is what 100% does, you know, that's 22 seconds now. That's insane. Or, you know, what I was going to show you guys, the Grand Crusade. Do we have it on here? Okay, yeah, they do. With Grand Crusade, if we scroll down to the equips, you see right here, Vulture Cap has a 40-second cooldown. Let's say, just for an example, you have a 40-second cooldown here, best possible one, then that means with Vulture Cap, you're able to have this on a 20-second cooldown and stack tons of additional dark damage if you have someone on the team that, of course, can utilize that. Lux Fina is another item here that could really benefit from this because, well, it's a 5-star, not a 6-star, but Lux Fina has the effect of making everybody evade status effects. And if you could turn this on a 25-second cooldown, this gets mega buffed. So I could see Choi being actually a bit more usable, surprisingly, in certain pieces of content than Mr. Aura, but he's being technically, in terms of harder pieces of content, Choi might be overall better because you have items like Lux Fina that's a magic equip that benefits from this additional equip CT. This would be so much easier to show in game, but like, you know, I mean, not to mention status effects items, right? Whenever you need to inflict a status, you guys know how annoying that is. Let's just say, for example, Corsairs. Let's just say, you know, you're using this to freeze an enemy. You gotta wait 40 seconds for this thing's max LB. But now with Choi, you only gotta wait 20. That's so good. That's going to save you so much time in certain situations and certain fights. And with him having all magic slots, that means that he could also be a bit of a status effect character. He could run something like Norn's True Weapon right here, and then run a paralyzing 5-star magic there, and then you're always going to have the Norn True Weapon up along with the paralysis item, so you never have to worry about, oh, you know, I'm having to wait so long for this or whatever. He has a bit more uses. That's pretty much all I'm saying. He has a bit more utility than that of Junu. This right here, increase all allies magic damage by 100%. Period. Right there, just for him being on the team, he gets the 100% magic damage buff. And if own self is leader, increase all allies magic damage by 150 instead. I don't even care about the 50%. He just has this. Ladies and gentlemen, we are looking at a modern day Draken, damn near. A modern day Draken. I know it's not completely one-to-one, but it's kind of close. Here's my whole takeaway from this, and I hope the GS devs listen to this, or maybe at least acknowledge it a little bit, because I think that they kind of got the wrong idea from the community. If you guys remember, a while ago in a live stage or something like that, there was something that was said, like, I don't know if it was even in this live stage, maybe I can scroll back and find it, but there was a feedback that said, that was like, we want bigger focus on GS characters. Right there. We want a bigger focus on GS units. And we specifically were saying that we wanted the game to be where GS characters were kind of the premier units to have over crossover characters. And I think what the dev team thought about whenever they saw this was that, oh, well then they just want the crossover characters to be in the game more so. They don't really want them to be completely broken. Yes and no. We still want these guys to be good. Here's the thing, I'm not the biggest solo leveling fan, but I still want this guy to be good because I know there's people out there who really love this character and really love this show. And I would love for this guy to be insanely good. There is a way to make these characters very good, but we don't make them like top 5 in the game. We don't want another situation on our hands where we're looking at tier list and we're like, oh shit, 3 of the best units in the game are crossover characters. And you know, it's even more if you look at the S tier. Look, the S tier is exclusively crossover characters. Crossover characters are fine. We want them to be good. We want them to be strong, but we don't want them to be the next broken thing. We don't want them to be the next Hoka. Make crossover characters good, but don't make them to the point to where they're required to clear content. That's all the people are asking. And I think with the way how they've done crossover characters within the last 6 months, it's been more so they're not required at all. You know, you don't even have to summon for this guy if you don't want to, which is wild because as soon as I saw it with solo leveling, I had my whole clown shoes, my clown face and everything on, bro. This is such a long awaited crossover. He's going to be top 5. Ladies and gentlemen, he's like just solid. He's a good character for Dark. That's pretty much all I can say. He's good for Dark. That, and I know that kind of contradicts like what I just said about, oh, I don't want characters to be like required, but I was like, dude, the way how they're hyping up this crossover, saying like this is one of the big crossovers, this is one of the ones that you guys have waited for so long, I just assumed they would capitalize on it and make him one of the greatest characters. I'm not saying that whenever they do these changes or like whenever they go in to make these crossover characters good, bad, whatever, that there can't be a few outliers to where it's like, oh, okay, like this guy is extremely broken. But I don't want that to be like the case every single time. Like how it was in the beginning of the Ascended era. It was like every crossover came out and you had to summon. It was just that good. Nowadays, the Ascended era is kind of starting to plateau a bit, and characters coming out, it's like, well, the bump in power is not really that great. They're also not really too weak. They're good to have if you care about like a certain team or a certain theme or whatever, but that's kind of it. I've already yapped enough. Thank you all so much for listening to me. I'm not really going to be cutting much out here because I want to get this video out, and I think that I need to really get all my thoughts here. Another thing that I will say before we get out of here, love the fact that we're getting a collab exclusive raid. I want more of this in the future, GS. Please, 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 Yama P, do more collab exclusive stuff. I would love that so much. Also, I will say too, consider doing a collab exclusive Grand Crusade or a collab exclusive Mines. I think that would be really sick. Even a collab exclusive like Mines Boss, you know, just a few different ones or whatever. That would be so cool. Would love it so much. Please consider it. I think like this right here is going to be gameplay wise one of the better collabs we've gotten, but just unit wise so far a little bit lackluster. Hopefully part 2 is going to be looking a bit better. Either way, thank you all so much for hanging out. It's me, Boy P, and last but not least, you guys already know, don't forget to drink water.